Hi, I'm Kara.
And I'm Adam. Welcome back to Crunchy Cozy Games. We got a comment on our top 10 cozy video. Somebody that said, it sounds like you've got some great picks for cozy game suggestions, but I would really like to know what simple games you recommend.
Oh, yeah.
And so I thought before we get into our list, we should talk about the difference between cozy and simple. What's the difference for you?
You know, I think the difference for me is that cozy there's a lot of element of theme, right? I think
it's a vibe.
It is. It is a vibe.
Yeah.
And so, we've got several of our, crunchier games that I would classify as cozy just because the theme is nice. It's fun to play. Like, you get really into the characterization.
Right.
Maybe there's cute animals. There's beautiful art. There's like nature. I think, for me, cozy is all about the package as a whole.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be simple to be cozy.
Yeah, I think a great example of that is Flamecraft,
Yeah.
which you and I both love. It is a super cozy game. The art style is all kind of watercolors, and the dragons are adorable. But there's quite a bit of strategy to that game.
It is.
So it's not simple per se.
I wouldn't say that it's, exceptionally difficult to pick up, but it is by no means like the simplest games that we have.
Right. And so what we've done today is we've assembled a list of games that are going to be very easy to teach to people that have not really played a lot of games. The criteria for this were very simple rule books, where maybe the rule book is 1 or 2 pages, or the instructions are. And they'll kind of increase in complexity as they go.
Yeah. We really just wanted to, like, these are ones that you can pick up and play.
Right.
You can bring it to the table without ever having played it, learn it in, like, less than 10 minutes and play it successfully.
These would be the games we'd recommend for people, like, having never played it before, you've got folks over for a game, you can crack it open for the first time, read the rule book, and jump right in.
Yeah, little prep. And also, they don't overstay their welcome.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So all of these can be done in under an hour.
Yes, definitely. So why don't we jump right into it? I think you've got our first suggestion.
Yes. The first one I want to talk about is a cute, tiny box game.
Oh, yeah.
Called Mountain Goats. It's small, so I'm going to hold it up. So this game, we pulled out Mountain Goats recently for the first time.
Yeah.
And just absolutely fell in love with it. So there's a lot that's packed into this tiny box. So essentially you pull out a bunch of cards that set up kind of a descending or ascending, because it's a mountain.
Right. You can descend a mountain, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. So you set up your board with these cards. You roll dice. You take turns rolling dice and putting them into groups.
Yeah, you're always rolling 4 dice, and then you can choose to use those in any combination.
Yeah.
So if you have a 5 and a 4 and a 4 and a 6, you could choose to put those 2 4s together and move the 8 mountain goat and the 5 and the 6, or you could put the 4 and the 5 together to go up 9.
Right. Yeah, so you're putting your dice together, you're moving your goats up, and then you're collecting chips?
Yeah, if you get to the top. The key there is that only one goat can be at the top of the mountain. If another goat gets up to that same spot, that one that was there gets knocked all the way to the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the fun push and pull of that game.
It is. And it plays pretty quickly. It's very silly.
It is.
And, we just had a great time. We played it. Did we play it twice?
We played it twice.
We played it twice in one sitting. It's quick, it's snappy, it's enjoyable.
And this is super easy to fit in a suitcase. So if you're going to be stuck in a hotel or something, you can play this game with whoever you're with. It's great.
Would absolutely recommend this for travel. So yeah, Mountain Goats.
Okay, our next pick is one of my personal favorites, and that is No Thanks. So No Thanks is a very simple game. Basically, the concept of it is you don't want points. And whoever has the most points at the end of the game loses, and whoever has the least is the winner. Any card that you end up taking, because it is kind of a trick-taking game,
A little bit, yeah.
Those are the points that you're accumulating. The way that you avoid taking those points is every player has these little chips that they put on the card and they say, oh, no thanks. And then it moves on to the next person. If they choose to take the card, they also get all the chips on that card.
Which then allow them to say no thanks to other cards later.
Exactly. What's key about this game and what I really love about it, it's a very simple mechanic, is that any line of cards that you get, for instance, if you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you are only going to score 5 points. Otherwise, you score each of the cards individually if there's any break.
But the way that is messed up in this game is that at the beginning, before you even start, you remove
9 cards.
You remove 9 cards from the deck, and so you don't know until the end if you're doing that run of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and you're missing the 8. You don't know if that 8 is even going to be in there.
Right. And so this is a very simple game, and every time we play it with a different group, the first round goes okay, but then people start figuring out the strategy to it of like, okay, well, I have 31, 32. Nobody else is going to want 33, so I'm going to keep sending that card around the table to gather up all the chips because, hey, at the end of the game, all those chips that you've collected are also negative points, and they'll reduce your score.
Yeah. It's a very polite game.
And also incredibly mean. Everybody's just, it's a passive-aggressive game. That's
sure
what it is.
It is a passive-aggressive game.
Boy, now that's a category that we should do later. Games that are passive-aggressive.
Yeah.
I love it.
Fun.
So yeah, no thanks. It's a terrific card-playing, trick-taking game. Love it.
Next up on the list is a fun little 2-player game called Jaipur.
Oh, I love Jaipur.
Yeah. So in this game, you are 2 merchants that are buying and selling goods at the market. There's also a bunch of camels. You're collecting a herd of camels.
Yeah, so you can transport your goods, Kara.
Absolutely. Or maybe you're a camel merchant. I don't know.
So other people can transport their goods, Kara.
But essentially on your turn, you're either buying or selling cards.
Right.
And...
or taking all the camels.
Right. Yeah, you can either take 1 card for free, you can trade in cards from your hand, or camels that you have collected for cards that are in the market, up to 5.
Right.
And if you choose to sell cards instead, you take them from your hand, which has a hand limit of 7. So you have to be particular about the cards that you take and collect.
Right. Because leather is not worth as much as gold or silver,
Mm-hmm.
obviously.
You can sell, I think it's a minimum of 2 to sell, but you get bonuses for selling 3, 4, or 5 at a time, and you get a chip for each of those. And the round is over when either the deck runs out or 3 of the market tiles run out, and you play best 2 out of 3. So that tells you alone that it is a very quick game, because you have to play multiple rounds of it to see who actually wins.
Yeah, it's a great game. In fact, we've got actually a short playthrough of this game on our YouTube channel. So go look at our shorts and you can see a quick playthrough of Jaipur. Yeah. And you actually did an excellent job explaining how it works in that video too.
Thanks.
But yeah, this is a great 2-player game. I highly recommend it for any couples that are into board games together.
Another great one that would travel well.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
We could take Jaipur to Jaipur.
You could. That'd be fun. All right,
like
Jaipur.
Our next one is another trick-taking game, but this one can be used for multiple players, and that's The Crew. So The Crew is a cooperative trick-taking game in which it goes through actually a bunch of different missions. And the missions themselves are all very clever. I mean, there are some where it's like one player can't take any tricks. Or there's others where it's like one player has to take a specific card. Now, the trick of this game is that there is very limited communication. So you can't just say, hey, everyone, I need to take this 7 of the green suit. Instead, what you can kind of do is communicate, this is the highest card that I have of this suit, this is the lowest card, or, this is kind of the only card that I've got of that suit.
Well, and to do that, you only get 1 opportunity in the round to do that, because that is designated by a specific mechanism using a chip.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's really clever in how it works, but the simplicity of this game is that most everybody understands how a trick-taking game works. Whatever the suit is, if everybody follows suit, the highest card of that wins. If you have that suit in your hand, you have to play one of those cards. But this is just so intuitive in how it does all the different little missions.
Yes.
That I don't think we've ever just played one.
No.
We always play a handful of them.
Exactly.
And it's super fun. It's very funny. Like there are definitely times where we get down towards the end of the mission. We're like, oh no. Oh no, I've messed this up.
Yeah, we have definitely had to replay several of them because it is very challenging to actually succeed at some of them, but it is very simple to learn. It's a simple to learn, difficult to master kind of game.
Yeah, but I love it. It's a great recommendation, and it's pretty cheap on Amazon or just about any board game store I've been into. So this is a great pick. The Crew.
Next up, we have another cooperative game.
Yeah.
But this one is Tiles. So this game is Forbidden Island. So in Forbidden Island, you are a group of explorers that are trying to escape from an island that's sinking. Correct?
Yeah.
And to do that, you move around the board. You're playing cards. You're drawing from a communal deck, and throughout that deck, you're going to get cards that knock out other tiles.
Right.
And so you don't want to be caught in a tile when it goes under, because then you're, swimming.
It's off the map.
It's off the map.
Yeah.
And so you all have to get off of the island, or none of you do.
Right.
It's a very good game.
This was one of the first games that I played that got me into board games. I had this certainly the first cooperative game that I had played. And it's a really simple game to pick up and just go through and play with everybody. There's also a bunch of different difficulty levels for it.
Yes, that is true.
Which I think helps, especially if you're new to board games.
Absolutely.
So yeah, great one.
Forbidden Island.
Okay, our next one is a game that's relatively new. It came out last year, and that is Point City. So this is a follow-up to Point Salad. But with this game, it's a very simple card engine builder. What you're doing is you're essentially building up your tiny little city. You do that with the various resources that are in the game. I forget what all their technical names are, but there's like purple people and green leaves and
gold coins
and lightning bolts and pink. I think that's your like industrial stuff.
Are they gears, or are they?
They're
gears.
I think they're gears. Yeah, they're gears for sure. But each of those different resources are the cost to purchase some of those building tiles. Cards. When you buy those buildings, you then have permanent resources. It's very similar to Splendor, which we recommended in our Gateway games. But this one's even more simple because the board is essentially just the cards spread out. It also has a really simple way of doing it where if a resource was taken, then the next card that comes out is a building tile, and so on and so forth. So this is a game that it'll take 2 minutes to teach to everybody, and it really gets people into engine builders. So I love this one.
Yeah, Point City is great.
Point City.
Right. And this next one we have is deceptively simple. So this game is Boop.
Yes.
It's another 2-player game, but it is, first of all, so darling. The art is adorable, and you're playing as cats jumping up onto a bed.
Right.
But what makes this really simple is that you can learn how to play it with your phone.
Oh yeah, that's true.
There's like a little app that will walk you, or is it a website or an app?
No, it's an app.
It's an app. There's an app that you can download that will literally walk you through, and it will say, okay, keep playing until this happens, and then you hit the button and you hear it explained. So you don't even have to read through the rule book.
Right.
You can just have somebody explain it to you, which is wonderful. But essentially in this game, you have a pool of kittens that are jumping up onto the bed, onto the board.
I would love to have a pool of kittens.
And the idea is that you're trying to get lines of 3.
Right.
The challenge is that every time a cat jumps up onto the board, all of the cats next to it disperse. They get booped. But if you do manage to finagle your way into a line of 3 kittens, you get a big cat. And then those big cats cannot be moved by kittens.
Right.
So they get to stay, but they can be moved by other cats.
Right.
And the objective of the game is to get a line of 3 adult cats.
Right.
And that's it.
It seems really simple, but you quickly realize that you can't just move a cat next to another cat because obviously that's not going to happen. So you have to anticipate what your opponent is doing and try to work with that so they can be bumped. But yeah, this is exactly the kind of game I love because it's an abstract theme that's then dressed up with adorable kitties.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's so deceptively, it's so thinky.
Yeah.
And it's very deceptively difficult. The puzzle is incredible. But yeah, very simple to learn, simple to pick up. Definitely recommend for, another date night or just like fun evening in.
Yeah, we've got a board game cafe near us, and every time I go there, people are playing this game. It's terrific.
I also love, there's a couple of different themes of this, and I love that the Halloween one is called
Ooh! Yes.
It's so good.
It's the exact same game, except now the cats wear witch hats.
It's so cute.
It's genius.
Anyways, boop.
Our next one is also a really fun two-player, easy-to-learn game, and that is Santorini. So Santorini, I think, is super fun because you're actually building up these towers. The idea is every turn you are moving one of your two figures, and you are building. Anytime you build, you just have to be adjacent to the tile, and then you put one of the 3 levels on the different buildings. The ultimate goal is that you want to be at the top of the 3rd level. It's trickier than it seems, though, because a worker or a piece can only move up 1 level at a time. So, for instance, they can't go from a tile adjacent to them if it's 2 levels up. So you're kind of trying to figure out like how to build around you that you still have a path to the highest one, but you can build even if you're not up that height. So people can also put a dome on that 3rd level to essentially block it off completely. So it's a little bit of a race to the top, but then it's also just careful placement and careful construction and thinking a couple of steps ahead of your opponent.
It is. It's another one that's a deceptively difficult puzzle.
Right.
And, I think that as we have played this a couple of times, you think you're in the perfect position and you just don't see that move that the other person has, and they sneak up and just like dome. Yeah. And it's devastating.
Well, and this is one of our favorites to play, like when we're fighting about like whose turn is it to empty the dishwasher? I don't remember. All right, bust out Santorini. Let's play a game. Whoever loses, they're emptying the dishwasher.
Yeah, it's very quick.
Yeah, it's great. Highly recommend this one, Santorini.
All right, the next one. This is a little more on the complex side, but still very simple to learn.
See, I don't think it's that complex.
I think it's more complex than you think.
Okay.
So essentially in this game, you're setting up an island of hexes.
This game being Survive.
Yes, in Survive. Escape from Atlantis!
Ooh.
Exclamation point.
Boo!
So you're setting up an island of hexes.
Yeah.
And you're placing your people, your little meeples, on this island.
Right.
The fun thing about the meeples is that they all have a point value on them that you can see at the very beginning and then never again.
Right.
Until scoring at the end of the game.
I love that.
Yes. It's because, you might be fighting to get that meeple to the end goal, and it's only worth like 2 points when your like 8-point meeple has already drowned. But anyways, the way that this game is played is that as the island is again sinking, it's kind of a theme in these simple games. You start with the lowest level. You start with the sand, and then move to the forest, and then move to the mountains. And those tiles disappear. So on each person's turn, they remove a tile.
Right.
There's also movement that happens. You can move your meeples onto boats to get to the shorelines that are on all 4 corners.
Right.
The confounding factors are that there are sharks and sea monsters
and whales
that are trying to disrupt your movement, trying to stop the boats, trying to eat you. And other players can move those things to also screw with you.
Yeah, at the end of every player's turns, you pull a tile, you move your pieces, and then you roll a dice that has either the sea monster or the whales or the sharks on it, and you get to move one of those.
Yes. And so you can be nice.
Oh, you should not be nice, though.
You can go after somebody else's boat.
And that's the thing I love about this game, is it can be as complex as you want it to be, but at its core, you're doing the same thing on each turn.
That's true. That's true.
But it's a great game that you can do with, like, you can have lots of negotiation. Like, hey, we're both on this boat. Let's get it to shore, and then everybody's fine.
Yeah.
But you can also, like, oh no, that boat got wrecked by me, but that's okay because I have a dolphin to get me to shore. Oh, it's deliciously mean.
It is. It's very fun. We never come away from this game without laughing hysterically.
Yeah, it's great.
It's so fun. And like I said, at the end, the reveal of counting up your points of the meeples that actually made it to the end, there's so much triumph and also so much devastation.
There's no better moment than having been so cutthroat and mean to all of your friends that are playing this game with you and realizing, even though you got the most meeples, you scored just 4 points.
Right.
It's great.
Yes.
I love it.
So, Survive is a great, simple game.
Super fun. Our last game is maybe the most complicated of all of them that we're talking about today, but it's still very simple. And that is Trekking the World. So we actually just got into the trekking series. There's 3 games so far. There's Trekking the National Parks, this one, Trekking the World, and then Trekking Through History. But I think this is probably the most approachable just in terms of art style and in terms of simplicity.
Sure.
What's really neat about this game is that you're basically just collecting cool spots to visit.
Yeah.
Those cards have different icons on the bottom of them that are essentially your resources, and there's like water and cameras and mountains and other things, but those resources are the same as what your cards are that you have to use for movement. So for instance, if you have a red card that has a 2 on it, you could use it for 2 resources, but you could also use it for 2 spaces of movement. When you get to one of those cards and you can only grab it by landing on that city, then you have to discard the number of cards equal to that same amount of resources.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's a little bit challenging about this is that you always have to move.
Right.
And so you can never have a turn where you use every resource in your hand to collect a card.
Right.
You have to move. So you have to be pretty intentional about planning your turns so that you're like right next to the city that you want to be on.
Yeah.
And you're also managing not only the resources, but you're managing collecting souvenirs from places. So if you're the first person that visits one of the locations on the map, you get to collect a cube. And the person with the most cubes is the souvenir master of that type. I don't know what it's.
Souvenir master.
There's like a little card for each type, but I don't remember what they're called. But
yeah, there's
it's like figurines and postcards and
pop figures.
I mean, I don't think it actually says pop figures, but that's funny.
Next edition, it will though.
So yeah, it's a pretty simple game for this type of game.
Yeah, and it's a great one to introduce players to. And I think it'll rise up the ranks to people's favorite games as they do that.
Absolutely.
What another thing I just generally like about this is a game that you basically have to learn once, and then all the rules you're going to remember the next time you play it.
Exactly. It also is one that, Trekking the World has a lot of very similar play mechanics to the other trekking games.
Yes.
And so once you learn how to play this one, picking up one of those other games is going to be super, super simple.
Right.
Because you will pull that rule book out and be like, oh, I know how to do this. Because you've already learned how to play in that specific way.
My only question is, they've done the national parks and then the world, and now all of time. What could the next trekking game be? Trekking the universe?
Another space game.
I mean, maybe. Space games are cool, Kara.
It's true. I'm not hating on space games. I do like space games.
All right, so that is our list of 10 simple games that we recommend. What are your favorites of the games that we mentioned?
Is there anything that we're missing from our list?
What are your favorite space games? We want to hear from you. Leave us a comment down below. We'll do our best to respond to it. And if you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe. We try to put out cool videos and cool lists like this at least once a week. We're so far on track.
Yeah.
But let us know. We got this idea for a video from one of our comments. So if there's something you'd like to see, put it down below and we'll see if we can get there.
Yeah.
I've been Adam.
And I'm Kara, and thanks for stopping by.
Bye.